experiment, basically. Or here's a question for you guys, basically. Call it a thought experiment, doesn't matter, right? So let's say what she's saying, that she really saw bad things, Islam and Quran and the Sunnah and all those. She disagrees with quite a few things, slavery, the number of wives Huzur have, all those things, right? So the question is to you guys: what if you realize that there is a God, true God, right? For some reason, you come to know that his existence is true, but he still commands all those things. What are you going to do?
I think Mahadin already covered that.
Yeah.
He said that, what if God is evil? We have no way to know. So he might, if God is indeed evil, then probably he might give us such instruction. In fact, he might give us even worse, something worse to follow, right? So it's
No, I'm
totally
saying,
likely.
are you
And
going to obey or not? Is the question.
okay. So then it depends. I mean, you see, there would be a problem of, there's a problem to know. The problem would be to know whether such an evil god is actually truthful in what he commits to do if we do something, right? So for example, we'll follow him probably for, again, for selfish reasons, as a lot of religious theists even do. They do it for their own benefit, right? Let's say it's not for the benefit in this world, it's for their afterlife. So I would, if that is the case, I would also try to get this, an insurance policy to probably follow him, because I would say that I protect my own interest. Now, I have another. I know you might say that is, that it seems evil to carry out something that has been prescribed by an evil god. But I think I have another, I have, it's, you should call it an argument, that actually, if God exists, and this ground, or this, with this reality, this world that we live in, if it's just a test, then actually we cannot harm. Whatever we do in this world is just temporary, right? So even whatever we do from a religious point of view, if God exists and this world is a test, whatever we do in this world to any other person, it's technically meaningless. What matters is what happens to us in the afterlife, right? So even if we do harm someone in this world, it doesn't matter. What matters is what would happen to that person in the afterlife. I just, the
So,
gist
so
of
you
what I
you
was
you
trying to
you
say.
you have your greed for afterlife, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I would definitely look for my own interest, and I gave you an argument that,
No, I
uh,
agree. I agree. I agree. I
yeah,
mean, I'm saying
yeah.
I agree to your subjective viewpoint, but
I wouldn't respect that God. I wouldn't say that. I mean, I would feel, if I have same kind of moral instincts, I'll probably feel bad. But just, but still, if I am sure that this is what will lead to me, I'm more inclined towards protecting myself from hell than, doing something and earning heaven by those actions. I am more inclined towards protecting myself from hell. So I might feel bad, but not respect such a god. But I think I'll probably do it.
all right,
Depends on
Madan.
how,
Yeah.
what sort of actions are. Maybe I feel too disgusted by some certain actions, so I might not do it. But yeah.
So let's say child marriage. Would you with
Would
the
you?
threat? I know
Yeah,
a
there
big
are too
brought up
many
a
ways
big
to.
gun
Go
straight
there.
away.
There are
Brought
too
up a
many
big
ways
gun
to
straight
throw
away.
very
Yeah.
uncomfortable questions at Kali at this
Yeah.
point, right?
I mean, so you're saying that God actually imposes it, and I mean, everyone is supposed to do that.
Yes, let's hypothetically assume that it's an obligation. Like,
Man,
it's part of the compulsory. It's like
with my,
it's the sixth pillar of Islam.
Right,
I mean,
right.
with my current moral instincts, you see, so even let's say I believe in a good God. Even then, if Muslims don't, aren't very good Muslims, right? We commit a lot of sins. So I'll probably commit that sin, meaning I will not do it, because if I have this same moral instinct within me, even with the existence of that evil god, I'll probably not do it. So in a way, I'll be committing a sin, but
Mhm.
yeah, because I feel too disgusted by that.
Right. So, but is this God meant to be evil, though, Philo? I thought you said he's meant to be moral, or is it
No,
evil?
No,
he
it's an
said it
evil.
evil
So
god,
I
evil.
haven't specified the
Okay.
degree of
Okay.
evil, basically, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay.
Kali, I slide. Mahajan, go ahead, please. Mahajan. Yes.
Oh no. Do you want me to go, or do you want to talk to ask
No, no,
Kylie
no. I
still?
wanted to say Kali is
I
done, right? Kali is
yeah,
done. Yeah,
I have
go
given
ahead,
my
Mahajan.
testimony. I guess I
We put Kylie at a top spot there. I don't know what you did to get around it. He thought this is my first stream and I have to answer this.
yeah, but I think I did well. I escaped it
Yeah, you
well.
did right. Anyway, so the question was, what would I do if there's an evil God who's commanding me things? Yeah,
Right, right.
that's actually really, really difficult. I'm not sure. So I actually don't know how I would react. That's not a reality that I've even thought about. Um, I think based on my personality, right? So since I was young, I've never been fearful of hell. I don't know why. Yeah, even when I was somewhat
So, Mahajan,
religious.
Mahajan,
Right?
can I stop you for a second?
Hmm.
We are gonna have long conversations in the hell, you and I.
Yeah.
I think we'll
Yeah.
have a lot of company in hell. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yes.
good company. I'm telling you.
We're
Yeah.
gonna burn, but we're gonna have long conversations. We'll try to find a way to get out of the hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Dig out like what's it called? Shawshank's Redemption. Have you seen
Exactly.
Shawshank's Redemption?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I've never been that fearful for some reason. So even when I was, I genuinely believed in God. I genuinely believed all this stuff. But for some reason, I was able, like a lot of people, to not obey all the time, right? So that's a bit of a weird thing, right? How human beings can do that. And I think we talked about it before, that there's a psychological disconnection that in terms through psychological experiments show if there's a punishment, extremely large punishment, devastating punishment far into the future, it might not have the same deterrence effect to modify your behavior now in the present. Like, for example, cigarette smokers who have an increased chance, chronic smokers who have an increased chance to obtain cancer, they don't modify, and there's modify their behavior in the present. And similarly, there's many other experiments showing this. So it could be something to do with that. So I would think if I genuinely believed, first of all, I have genuinely believed in those stuff, and it didn't make me become the best, most pious Muslim, right? Um, so why would an evil, if I know a God is evil, why would it make me do that in that case? It depends. We need more context. If it's just exactly the same as the current Islamic model, just everything is the same, but we know it's evil, I'm probably going to be the same type of person. I'd probably resist more. I would imagine, because now I've got a reason to. Yeah, I think so, but I can't answer that. That's the best I can do. I can't imagine myself as an adult right now genuinely believing that.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I'd
so
like to think that's, yeah. It's too
Yeah.
difficult.
but
Yeah, go
okay,
on.
I
so
agree.
so
I agree.
you
It's
you
way
gave
too
this.
difficult.
So yeah,
Sorry, go
I have a
on.
question.
Go ahead.
So you gave this answer based on how you have lived your life up till now. But still, so
Kind
let's
of.
say you, so let's say
Yeah.
you were a Muslim. Let's assume that you were still a Muslim, and
Yeah.
somebody asked you, well, should I be a good Muslim? Should I do what Islam tells me? Forget the evil God right now. Just assume that you are still a Muslim, and we are living in this
Mm,
world as it is right now. And
mm,
somebody asked, well, what do you suggest? Do you recommend, or do you, what we call in the, you know, would you advise people to follow Islam? That, you should be a good Muslim. I'm not a good Muslim, but you should try to be a good Muslim. Would you do that?
mm.
Because, it makes sense in the long term, because it
Yeah, yeah.
keeps reducing the outcome.
So are we stopping the evil part now? Are we
No,
thinking we
I
don't
because
know?
I link it to the evil one then. So
Sorry.
I will link, once you answer this, I will
All right.
link
Okay.
it.
I see. I see. I see. All right. Go
Yeah.
for it. Yeah.
What was
I
your
think
question
if
again? Sorry, Callie, what
So
was your question again?
so
Sorry.
my question is, since Mahadan just gave the answer based on his own nature, and according to him, he wasn't a very good Muslim, right? He wasn't a very practicing Muslim. So what I'm saying is, so he gave this answer from that point of view, but and now I'm putting the question in another way, that would he, despite him not following, would he still advise others to follow Islam if he considered Islam to be a true religion, and if he believed that yes, believing in or and practicing Islam would actually make sure that you go to heaven after, in the afterlife. So if what would be his advice to others?
yeah. So if I genuinely believe God was real and good at the same time, right? Now, of course, my particular predicament, I would need not just the case for the existence of God, but why he is the moral arbiter and why that's morally sound. But assuming those things are passed, the checklist is passed, for whatever reason, and I genuinely believe that that's right. Yeah, I would probably feel a moral obligation to enlighten
Others
others.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
others
yeah,
as
to welcome them to the faith. Yeah, on those conditions though that it is morally obligatory, etc. Having said that, that's again theoretical. I might need to reevaluate it because in my past, I did think that genuinely, and I actually had moments where I've had people tell me that they were of a different sexual orientation to their normal one, the heteronormative one, you know, and and I remember scolding them for saying, no, that's not right. You're not supposed to do this and so on. But yet, I myself wasn't the greatest practicing Muslim. So you can be like that, right? You can have a hodgepodge, and a lot of Muslims are like that, right? They follow some stuff, they say some stuff, they don't do others. They hold hypocritical attitudes. So whilst I'm saying that right now, that I probably feel a moral obligation, I didn't feel a moral obligation then, and I genuinely also believed it then. I had moments, I had deep connections with God. Like I've made attempts in certain segments of my life, but I didn't go walk around propagating faith. I'd forget, something would happen. So I don't know. Depending on my personality, then I can't say 100% whether I would be propagating these messages.
What
Yeah.
I think, and I'll add one point, which is probably a more philosophical or maybe nonsensical point.
Yeah, but
What
Philip,
our
before you do
confusion?
so, Philip, before you do so, because Kylie wanted to make a point of this,
Yes.
right?
So
Yeah.
what
So
I
let
was
him.
actually, yeah, what I
Yeah.
was going to link it to is, so because based on that, so you said, being not a very practicing Muslim, you didn't follow the religion because you were,
Mm,
as you said, that psychologically we are in that and inclined towards fearing something that is too much into the future, that is too far into the future, even
mm,
if the consequences are very dire or very bad, still we
yeah.
tend to ignore them. So now, and that's why I asked you about the you told me that you wouldn't practice, you might still not be a practicing let's say a follower of a religion, even in the case of an evil god, because you wouldn't still fear hell that much. So I think that is fine, but in that case now, if the god was evil and he had all these evil moral rules or evil rules that we had to follow, now
Mm,
based on your understanding that such an evil god has linked your obedience with heaven in afterlife, right? So once you obey him, do all
mm,
these things that he has prescribed,
mm,
you be able to get in heaven in the afterlife. Would you suggest other to do that? So somebody asks you, let's say, you don't have to go to them, proactively, but let's say somebody asks you, well,
mm.
should I do this, because it seems bad in this world, but it's actually going to pay off in the afterlife, which is the eternal life.
Mm. What I would say, yeah, so in this hypothetical sort of lens, maybe I can imagine myself saying something like this. It might be in your interest, your prudential interest, to follow this evil being, because otherwise you're going to be, stricken with long-term, unending, never-ending hellfire, or whatever. So it might be in your prudential interest However, do you know what would be more moral? And I would to enact some sort of rebellion against it. Imagine if you
Right.
stand up for what's right and you go down like a soldier, like just like in a war where you might sacrifice yourself. That would be really moral. I think I can imagine myself saying this genuinely because I can't conscientiously like propagate a message just like that, like it's just in your self-interest. I don't think I can conscientiously make that argument. So I might say, look, I will understand if you are so fearful and you perform this action that is otherwise atrocious to you. But try your best, think about it. You don't have to do this. There are some people die at war, doing what's right. Some people die for their family. Some people, they will fight for their nation and for right reasons. I'm not talking about nationalistic allegiances. I'm talking about a good war. Let's imagine a good war. And somebody's dying for their entire country or something like that. And many other examples like that. Not self-righteous, but a righteous death. I would consider that. I would wager to them. Try and live up to that sort of ethic, because that would be good. But I wouldn't hold it against them if they don't. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Philo, you were saying something.
All right.
I gave the politician's answer.
No, I think
Yeah.
the point I wanted to highlight for a long time is that there is this confusion between these complex questions is a testament to that fact that you can't have a complete wrinkle-free, very, what do you call, consistent thought process. It's impossible, and especially when you are posed with such difficult questions, basically. And I agree in part to both of you somewhat, basically. I mean, what if that, one of the problems in knowing such a God, whether that God is lying or not, a point that Callie made earlier. But how would you know that that God is not gonna lie to you, right?
Yeah.
When
That's
he's
impossible.
saying he's an evil,
It's impossible to know.
you have that problem unless until you know that God does not lie. You just can't know what he's gonna do with you in heaven or hell. Basically, he might say that he's gonna provide you heaven, but it might be worse than hell or whatever. From his
Yeah.
perspective, that heaven is hell. Basically, from our perspective, what we were trying to say, okay, no, I have my own ethics, my own principles. I'm gonna follow those, and maybe in following those, what he sends me to, what he calls hell, is probably the kind of world that I would rather want to live in. Basically, who knows?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
this
he
is the
let's
kind
say
of sorry, go ahead.
let's say he has a very wicked sense of humor, and he labels heaven as hell and hell as heaven, and say, well, you see, I told you you're going to hell and you're going to heaven. You see, I've labeled it hell and I've labeled it heaven, and I am the God. I can label anything. You cannot ask me, and I can ask you. Nobody can question me. So yeah, now go to your heaven.
See, the point is, any kind of knowledge about that being is only gonna come from him, unless until I have any other means of knowing about him, right? And supposedly, if there's no other means of me knowing about him, I'm stuck in this problem forever.
Yeah, so I think in order to cross that bridge, we need to modify the example a little bit. So we're all only assuming that God is evil or good, or something like that, and he exists. So either a good or neutral or evil God exists and is communicated with mankind. But then we're keeping everything else a constant, right, to our reality currently today, which is that he communicates through scripture with limited contact, plays hide and seek, and
Everything is the
disappears.
same, basically. Everything is the same,
Yeah,
basically.
everything else. We need to modify it a little bit more. Maybe this God doesn't play hide and seek. Maybe he interacts with humans more. Maybe he shows up and goes to shopping with us, chills with us, hangs around, gives us advice. Maybe he's the local. He's the local guy down the street or something. And now it's different, right? Now what would you do? Like now you have access, so you would probably assess his reputation or his skills, observe what he can do, and if he's like continuously correct about things. Yeah, I think that would be a good way, because we have to be consistent here. The reason I, for example, follow my doctor or doctors, medicine, is because it has a consistent track record of generally being a good way of curing certain illnesses. It's not
So,
perfect,
so
but
I'd,
I
I'd
generally
ask
follow it.
I'd ask
Yeah.
one more question
Same.
over here.
Yeah, in the
I'd ask
same
one more.
sense, in the same sense, if God was transparent, contactable, you could converse with him or have a continuous personal experience that everybody could verify and testify to. Prayers were consistently answered, even if it's not perfect. That would be. It doesn't have to be like a perfect track record, unblemished track record. I mean, we don't have any perfect or unblemished
Right,
track
right.
record.
I mean,
Doctors
there are
sometimes
a
make
few
mistakes, but if
there are a few more
yeah,
conditions.
go on. Sorry.
There are a few more conditions that I would add here. I mean,
Yeah.
to cross that bridge, I'll need some more information. For example, would I still have some of the memories from this life to the next life or not? Because
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you
You need to,
if
yeah,
you want me
absolutely.
to
Yeah,
commit a heinous crime, let's say
yeah.
kill a million people, if I'm remain with that memory and enjoying given the fruits of heaven, I, I don't think my conscience would allow me to live that life as happily as
Yeah,
But if say
yeah.
that memory is erased, then what would happen? That's a very tough question. I mean, for me to take that leap to uh, commit a genocide for a heaven, to me that doesn't
Mm,
really particularly appeal me, to be honest. I mean,
mm,
even though if that God says your memories will be erased, and
mm,
probably he even says that there is some greater good that comes out of this genocide. Maybe if
mm.
that is the guarantee, then maybe there is a sense of confidence. Otherwise, then there is no sense of confidence within.
Yeah. Taking that into account, let me also answer Kylie's question based on some sort of change to that. And I think we all might do that. If you put a gun to anybody's head, they might do something atrocious, right? I don't know. I've never been in that particular situation where I've been threatened to that extent. I have been in other sorts of situations where there were problems, and I could have easily done the wrong thing, and I didn't. So I don't know. But if somebody puts a gun to my head, would I commit heinous crimes that I consider to be evil? I've come close to situations. I won't go into them, but I've come close to situations like that, and I didn't. So maybe I would, but maybe I won't. So this is a bit better of a better example, because if God is evil, but all the other conditions are the same, like hellfire will occur after I die, then you could say, it's too far away psychologically. I'm not going to be bothered about it, or something like that, maybe. But if I just knew God is here and He's going to kill me now, like this position of where Abraham was in, and he said, "Commit, kill your child." Would I do that? I'd like to say no. Um, I probably wouldn't. If it's my own child, let's put it in that situation. If it's my own child, I probably wouldn't. I've been in situations. I don't have any children, but I've been in situations where I have to protect my siblings, let's say. And yeah, you feel this fight or flight instinct to protect, right? It's not necessarily rational, and sometimes you feel like you will die for them. And maybe so I would like to say that I wouldn't do something like that, Kaidi.
Yeah, I mean that's what my
Yeah.
instinct is as well. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean it's a very hard question to answer basically, unless until there's a little bit more information. It's gonna
Mm.
be terribly hard.
And you see, most people I think are like that. If you see, even most followers of whatever religion, they are sinners according to their religion, right? I mean, there are, I think, a vast majority of people actually are not good followers of their own religion, right? Why? Because most of the things are either not very, or most of the rulings of their own religion are, let's say, they're not very convenient. They don't feel like doing. I mean, you see, for example, in Islam, there are five prayers. Barely, how? I mean, what percentage of Muslims actually offers five times prayers, right? And it's not even
Yeah.
that. I don't know. It's difficult, but I would say it's not even that. It's not even going for as far as killing your own child. So if people are able to commit sins, quote unquote, in that respect, something, uh, if it's not convenient for them, then I think going so far as killing your own child for the sake of God, I think people would probably not do it, even if.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a difference though. I mean, Khali. I mean, the example about, see, there is a little bit of fluidity in the commandments of Islam, right? You may not perform prayers and all those things. That's perfectly fine. But when you're thinking about, I mean, when you're thinking about these differences between heaven and hell, everybody is ready to, at least for them, all they need to do is, just believe in the five tenets, right? Pretty much. And
Mm.
even if they ultimately go to hell, they won't be there for forever, right? And if they know this, that's why they are probably gonna miss their prayers and all those things. So for them, it's not that big a deal, right? Because you're not talking about an eternity over here. You see the distinction. For
But
somebody who just does not believe, he's going to go and be thrown in the hell forever, right? So that's the distinction there, right?
I don't think most. I mean, you're right. That is how they one might be able to rationalize it. But I think in actuality, what happens is people, I mean, our psychology and our innate sense, our innate laziness, I would say, of doing something. When we don't tend to do anything which we feel is inconvenient, right? So that actually is the reason behind most Muslims not following their own religion or their own religious practices. I think that is
Yeah,
the reason.
I mean,
But of
you're
course, I mean,
right.
let's say, this is just a thought experiment. But let's say God has said that I'm. It's not likely that I'm going to forgive your sins. But I mean, in that case, what would happen is even still a Muslim would still be a commit at least one sin, right? Let's say I'll give you an example. There are major sins in Islam, right? In fact, there are such major sins which I think they're called. I mean, there are some sins which even might eat up all your good deeds, right? So which might result